It's time for Group D, and the D stands for, did you know, it's coming home. It's coming home. England will win this group. England will win the whole Euros. We'll get into that in my predictions video, but let's start with Group D and the fact, the objective reality, that England are winning this group. Before we start, I just want to thank the sponsor of today's video, me. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, make sure to join our live streams on Twitch and YouTube, or I will beat you. Right, let's get into the preview, starting with England. Can England win the Euros in all seriousness? Yes, they can. It'll be really difficult for them to do so. It's not going to be an easy ride, especially if they top their group. It could actually work out better if England finish second in their group. However, I really don't like this mentality of, tactically finishing second. If you want to be the best, you've got to beat the best. Get on with it. Take the harder route, win the whole thing, do it the right way. Now, I've already done a video explaining my personal favourite England 11 to win the Euros. Make sure to give that a watch if you haven't already. I'll put a link there or something. But the good news for England fans is that whatever starting 11 you want to go with, England do have plenty of options, up front at least. Because the wings, in particular, are stacked. And we can and ah about, who should start on which wing. But realistically, at the end of the day, any combination should work out pretty well when you've got Grealish, Foden, Sancho, Rashford, Sterling. Those are all great players and they all bring something unique to England's attack. And then you've got Harry Kane, one of the best forwards in the world, leading the line. You've got Declan Rice and Mason Mount as guaranteed starters in midfield. And England have great depth at fullback. But there is an issue around centre-half depth and goalkeeper. There isn't one England defender or goalkeeper that I would 100% bank on not making a mistake. For example, I personally really rate Walker and Stones. However, they do each have a big clanger in them, as we saw at the 2018 World Cup. Maguire and Henderson are both injury doubts, meaning that the much more junior Phillips and Mings may have to come in to replace them. Although Henderson did get some game time in the most recent friendly against Romania. Didn't look fully fit, but at least there was some game time, and Maguire is apparently back to running in training. But it's going to be important to not rush them back to fitness. I think it would be better to forego them for the first couple of games if that means in a later stage they would be closer to being fully fit. All those issues aside, if Southgate gets it right, and that's a big if for Mr. Waistcoat, England could have a very exciting tournament. Grealish has to start for that to happen. And if the starting 11 is correct, England's attack will be feared by every defence in the competition. Even though everyone's already talking about the potential benefits of England finishing second, I do predict them to top the group in style. The next team is Croatia, the conquerors of England and the most recent World Cup and World Cup finalists. They have one of the most stacked midfields in the competition, and that's not even including the recently retired Rakitic. They can still call on all the other itches in midfield like Brozovic, Modric and Kovacic. As we saw at the World Cup, Croatia tend to deploy a relatively unusual winger on either flank. Usually you dissociate a winger or an inside forward as being quick, nimble, maybe light, maybe not the strongest, and maybe not the tallest. But with the likes of Perisic, Rebic and Vlasic, Croatia can utilise a very different form of winger. Very physical, very clinical, very strong in the air, and able to offer a different problem for opposition fullbacks. Now England did get their revenge over Croatia in the Nations League following the World Cup, but do not underestimate Croatia. I anticipate the match between England and Croatia will determine who tops the group. As talented as Croatia are in midfield and attack, they're slightly less gifted at the back. They aren't poor players by any means and they have a vast amount of tournament experience, but there is a big discrepancy in talent there. I do think England will be able to exploit that, and I predict Croatia to finish as Group D runners-up. What do you do when your two best players are left-backs? Well, Steve Clarke's been able to figure that one out by using a formation that accommodates both Tierney and Robertson, Scotland's two best players. Scotland usually play with a 3-5-2 or a 5-3-2, with Tierney as the left centre-half and Robertson the much more attacking wing-back on that left-hand side. There's even more Premier League quality in the side, with the likes of McTominay, McGinn, Armstrong, Fraser and Adams all likely to make an appearance. Similar to Wales, I think a lot of people are writing Scotland off, and maybe that's fair. It's going to be really hard for Scotland to qualify from this group, but it's definitely not impossible. Now, they will be reliant on the creative output of McGinn, but my main worry for Scotland is they're going to be too left-sided dominant. Now, it obviously makes tactical sense for them to be left-sided dominant when you've got both Tierney and Robertson, probably your two best players in the side. They're both capable of providing plenty of danger down the opposition's right. But by relying on two left-backs and being so left-sided dominant, it might make Scotland too predictable. For example, an opposition side may opt to tactically set up their right-hand side to counter Scotland's offensive left. By setting up their right-hand side to be more defensively resolute, they can potentially constrain Scotland's threat down that left-hand side. And if that does happen, the onus is going to shift to the central players and the right-sided players to provide a goal threat of their own. Whether Scotland qualify will depend on their match with the Czech Republic. Whilst they aren't as gifted as England or Croatia, they do have plenty of talent in their side, mainly from East London, in the form of Souček and Soufal. That being said, I don't see the Czech Republic doing too much at this Euros. At best, I think they can hope for third place, but I'm actually going to predict them to finish bottom of the group, and Scotland to finish third. So my placement for this group is England at the top, because it's coming home, obviously, Croatia, Scotland, and they'll qualify as one of the best placed third place teams, and then the Czech Republic, bottom of the group. Stay tuned for our Group E preview. Make sure to like the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and if you have subscribed to the channel, why not share the channel with a friend or two, and get them to share it with a friend or two, and get them to share it with a friend. As always, make sure to join us on Twitch and YouTube for our football live streams and watch-alongs. Eat, yeet, skeet, delete. Have a good day.